Hey guys, what's up? Pixels here, and in today's video I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks of running on RPD. And I know RPD, it's not really a map that we come across a lot, and I think a lot of people are kind of off put on playing it as survivor or killer. But I'm mainly just going to show you guys a few tips on running some killers at least on RPD, and what you can do to improve, wasting the killer's time and stuff, because this map's really great. Like, it's very underrated. I know a lot of people dodge this map. I think they find it difficult to find gens, and maybe it's even like safe pallets to use, or just generally like just can't find totems or anything like that. So I basically I'm controlling the killer as well as the survivor. So I'm playing as the killer on my PC as well as controlling the survivor on my Xbox. So let's begin. So basically what I want to do is show you guys this side first, and then we're going to go on to that side as well. So basically, let's say you find yourself doing this gen in the middle. It's quite difficult. It's more or less like the main gen to get done. And just say you're doing this gen and the killer's approaching from that direction over there. So like, where do you go? You have this pallet here. It's not particularly great because if you throw it down, basically like any killer can just sidestep it really quickly. It's kind of a 50-50. It's all right if you're not injured basically, but yeah, you kind of want to avoid maybe going to this pallet unless it's like our last resort. So basically what I tend to do is I run in here instead. This loop here is really great, by the way. So you've got a vault here, which most killers they always seem to forget that it exists. So running onto this one's really good. So a killer can be chasing you in here. They miss that vault, so then they got to walk all the way down here. And now what you do have is now you have this great pallet, and depend on the killer, even if it's just like a basic M1 killer or even a nemesis or something, you can run around this a couple of times. I mean, I know it's quite difficult to show because I'm just playing against myself right now, but it's hard to find games where killers actually dedicate to chase me on RPD. But I know a lot of people, when they watch me live, I do really well on this map in terms of looping. So you can run around this a couple of times, and basically if you can drop the pallet on this side preferably, that's great. So if you drop that one, the killer's forced to break it. What you can do is then run in here, because the killer's going to be forced to break that at least. And then here you go, you've got yourself a god pallet right here. So then you're going to drop that on the killer. The killer's going to be forced to break that one. And then that's going to buy you time. And a lot of people don't realize that there's actually a doorway here to go upstairs. So you run upstairs. Okay, so you have another god pallet here, which is really good. And sometimes it'll spawn here, depending on the RNG. So my suggestion to you is, if you're being chased, also keep an eye, because this is a good spot to see if the killer's actually coming up the stairs. So as soon as you see that red stain there, you want to just have a quick look here. Oh, is that god pallet there? If not, then it's going to be over here. That's the only two spots it'll spawn. And it's always a guaranteed spawn, it's always there. So the good thing is, it's on the good side. So what you can do is then, you throw that down, which is going to also, force the killer to break it yet again. Which is fair enough, And then you have another little loop inside of here, which can also be quite beneficial if you play it right. And again, it's all situational, like it depends on the killer, but I'm just showing you guys some tips on how to run on this map and what paths you should be taking, really. So like I said, this is a good one as well. You want to keep them on this side. Ignore this vault, because this vault is just a death trap. Don't use that vault. So you kind of just want to keep them around this side of the loop. And if you throw that pallet down, preferably on this side if you can. Doesn't matter if it doesn't really matter what side you get it on. And, the killer is forced to break it. Then what you can do, which is it's pretty crazy, because this is going to waste a lot of the killer's time is then you've got another god pallet right here. So if you run out of the stars office, which is what it's called, and that other room that we were in, you then have, you know, another god pallet, which again you can just drop and waste the killer's time, which is awesome as well. And then, so once you've done that, okay, and just so you have balance land on doesn't necessarily mean that you do. You can then bring the killer into the library. Now, this map, you know, it's not all about winning chases. Like this, I mean, let's just speak that in general on most games that you play. It's not about winning the chases. It's about wasting as much of the time of the killer that you can. And people look over the library to say, like, this is not really, you know, a great loop. Like, we've got this pallet here, but again, it's a 50-50 pallet. You know, you probably just don't want to come in here and drop that straight away because it's just not going to be, you know, it's going to be easily mind gamed by the killer. You know, you can play around this side, which is probably just a slightly bigger loop. But a killer will tend to just bloodlust you or break the pallet, and then you're kind of screwed. So the first thing I suggest that you do when you come in here is run upstairs. And even this works without balance landing, by the way, as well. And like I said, it really depends on the killer and what you think you can get away with. But, you know, if you come up here, the killer's got a long way to get around to you. So what you can do, you know, you can stand here, basically just, you know, memeing off to the killer. They don't know which side you're going to go. They've got to waste a lot of time to get around to you, regardless of which way they go. And you also have a few options of which way they go as well. So, you know, if a killer pushes you this way, like that, then, you know, you can literally just run this way. And again, you know, like I said, it's just going to take them a lot of time to actually get a hold of you. And like I said, obviously I'm playing as myself, as the killer and survivor, so it's kind of difficult to show the terms of the speed and stuff of how it's going to work. But you also have this vault here. I'd say the preferred vault that you want to use is this one. So, you know, if, like I said, if you push the killer around this direction here, and he pushes you to come around this way, and he's still following you from over there, the best thing you do is just do that. You know, and balanced landing will always help on this map as well. It's very great. And again, it's just wasted a lot of the killer's time. So, like I said, you can basically just run the killer around this little area for like a little bit just to waste his time, and then hop on that. And that's after you've already dropped all them god pallets and stuff downstairs, you know. What else we have on this area as well, down here? So we got a lot of little niggly pallets, which, you know, they're not great. I don't really take killers into these areas much. Like, all these pallets are really mind gameable, like this one here. It's just there, you know, if you're doing the gen, it's there for like a safety type of, like a safety net type of thing. It's not a great one. This one also is not great because the killer can just run around this side and just totally ignore it. And this one is in the locker room, I believe. Yeah. So this one's actually not that bad because you have a very good know-how of like whereabouts the killer is, you know. So if I bring the killer over, at the moment on my killer screen, I can't see Ash at all. So if I stand here, I can see the killer's red stain on either side. So this is also a decent loop. The problem is you're kind of worried about cornering yourself. So what killers tend to do is they push towards the pallet side, like that, and you'll run this way, and then killers like to moonwalk back on the other side, which, you know, again, you can just counteract by going this way. So again, it's not a bad loop, but at the same time, you kind of don't want to get yourself cornered in here injured, because at the end of the day, it's probably not going to be ideal to get out. Because, you know, if I drop that there, you know, and I run back in that side, like, as a demagogue, and he can just break that pallet, moonwalk, literally there, and then he's hit me, you know? So you kind of got to watch yourself on that one. This pallet, that's the one we showed you before. And, okay, so this is the one at the exit gate. Again, this is not really an area that you want to be in. Usually an extra gate will spawn out here, by the way. This is not another pallet that you want to be stuck on at all, because again, it's just not a great amount of looping involved. So basically, the first route that I showed you guys is probably the best one to take. And okay, so the last pallet we have on this map is this one here, on this side of the map, should I say? And again, it's it's another pallet that's just kind of thrown in to buff up the RNG. Like, there's no reason that you should be trying to run a killer on this one. Most killers either just swing at the pallet, or, you know, it's like a two-step thing where they can just swing around and hit you. So, again, you kind of want to avoid going on that pallet, really. Alright, so hopefully that side is kind of covered, and I hope you guys can kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about with killers, and, you know, how you can run efficiently over on that side of the map. And like I said, there's different routes you can take as well. But you just got to remember where the god pallets are. And like I said, most of the god pallets are always guaranteed to spawn right there. Like, that pallet there is always guaranteed, and then the one down this corridor is always going to spawn there no matter what. So, like I said, learning where them god pallets are really makes a difference. Alright, here's another scenario for you. So, again, we're going to be doing this gen. Oh shit, the killer's behind me. Okay, so what I tend to do is I get stuck on this quite a lot. The preferred method is running this way into this lovely room. This room's another room that's just awesome for wasting the killer's time. Okay, so we're in here, and you know, I'm being chased by the killer. What I'll always want to try and do is keep myself running on this side. You know, if a killer's forcing you to go this side, that's kind of bad, because, you know, if you throw this pallet down, a killer's just gonna walk around this little object here. So what I do try my best is to try and avoid the killer pushing me on this side, because what I want to do is run them around this way. Of course, it's obviously the killer's sort of controlling the chase here in which direction you're gonna go, but most killers don't realize how to counter this loop. So what you can do, you know, you run around this a couple times, you know, depending on how much bloodlust they have or whatever. And then you have this lovely vault here. And most killers, they never really sidestep this vault at all. They always seem to just want to vault it like that. And by the time they vaulted, okay, you can literally be down this corridor, like over here by the time they vaulted. Which again, is gaining you a lot of distance away from the killer. So what they will do, you know, they'll chase you back inside of this room again. And again, you've still got your pallet up. And yeah, you still have your vault. And you know, at this point, they probably do have bloodlust. So you may want to play on actually breaking the pallet. Or dropping the pallet. So, you know, you drop the pallet, or, you know, you get the killer stun or whatever. And even then, they might still try to bloodlust you, but by the time you've thrown down the pallet, you can probably still make this vault again. So that is the way you want to run that room's loop, basically. And of course, right, so you've won that loop. Now what do you do? Where do you run from here? Well, I suggest interrogation room, and the reason that is because it's one of the hardest windows for a killer to counter in the game right now. So, you know, killers will tend to run backwards and forwards between the two interrogation rooms. So you have this one here. Okay, so then I'm going to vault that. And, you know, killers, as you'll see here, will do this a lot. They'll hide their red stain and then go back. My suggestion to you is, unless you see a killer come into the door like that, don't vault, because a lot of the time they will literally just be moonwalking or trying to outplay you on this. And like I said, you know, if a killer's coming in here and you're doing that, like, it's impossible for the killer to lunge and reach that at that distance. Like, there's no way a killer's gonna come running in and then, you know, reach that window. You can still get a medium vault off in time for that. So as soon as you see the killer like touching this bit here, that's when you want to really vault in. What you will want to watch though is this. Is your, I mean, if it lets me. It's not blocking for some reason. Yeah, it won't block. But yeah, usually the window will block after the 3 vaults, and that's when you become trapped in there. Alright, so just say you get pushed out of this room here. You then have this pallet. This pallet's not bad. You know, it's not amazing, but it at the same time it's not bad either, you know. It's like just a little basic loop. I mean, the good thing I like about this, it is a 50-50 type of pallet, but it still has like only one side the killer can push you from. And of course, if you're still in this room, you'll also have the option to run for this vault as well. You run back for that vault and then run this way. So again, you have a lot of options, you know, in RPD that actually waste the killer's time, but people don't know about. They don't know where to run. They get lost. It's like a maze. Alright, so let's just say the killer, you know, pushes you out of this doorway here. So where do you go from here? Do you go down there? Or, you know, do you go this way? Me personally, you know, if I'm, you know, the killer's, you know, in this room and he's come out through the vault and he's pushed me out of this way, what I will do is, I mean, if they haven't even vaulted, you know, they could just be coming out of that door. So that's kind of cutting off, it's kind of cutting off that doorway here. So I kind of don't want to run towards that door. So, you know, where do I go? What do I do to avoid the killer, you know, running back into them? So what you can do is run this way. And a lot of people miss this doorway because it's so easily, like, just a miss because it's hidden behind the grates. But, you know, if the killer does decide, you know, that he wants to follow you down this corridor here, or, you know, you got to keep an eye out he's not cutting through this doorway, which is what they could do. So my suggestion, like I said, you know, just pay attention to where the killer is. You know, if you're seeing a red stain coming down this corridor here, then you're probably safe to go around this way. And what you can do, you then have 2 options if the killer is doing that. You can either run them in here to this pallet, and this pallet has a few spawns. It spawns either this side, it spawns here, or it spawns here. Now, this one's probably the best one because it makes the loop bigger if you do even drop it. So if I bring the killer in, he's just round the corner, little demo puppy. If the killer comes in, and you know I'm running here, and you know the killer's running me around this table a lot, and he's trying to force me to drop the pallet as quickly as possible. So let's just say like he's right behind me. He's probably lunging at me. You know, I'm gonna throw down the pallet. If he decides to bloodlust me, then he's just gonna run back around this way. If he runs up there, it looks like he's ready to make an announcement up there with his microphone. So if he's running around this way, and you know he's just trying to bloodlust, that's fine. So if he still just keeps going that way, then what you can do is run back in here and get this vault. Okay? So that is one method that you can do if you do decide to take this option of running in this room. Now this is probably the best option because you've also like pretty much always got an escape out of this room. And again, it depends on where the pallet is really. So if the killer, like I said, if the killer's deciding that he wants to bloodlust you and he's you know trying to catch up to you, I mean, it's probably more or less, it just depends on what type of killer it is, but you know, you kind of want to be careful you don't do that. You can really try and run and get this vault, and it's not really ideal. It's not ideal because, you know, it's really hard to get a speed vault on that because the angle's just not in your favor. So yeah, that's it. I've just been practicing a little bit there to get the fast vault. So the best thing is probably to cut into the locker and then run back. And it takes quite a lot practice to do that. As someone who's new to the game or is not as experienced, at least, you're going to find that quite difficult to get that fast vault. But you can practice it. You know, if you can launch a custom game with a friend, try and do that. But Yeah, so if I'm running a killer, and like I said, if he's trying to bloodlust me, I will more than likely want to run this way to this loop, and then run and get the fast vault into there. All right, so you also, if you decide that, you know, he's gonna just keep running you around this table, and you know you have him on that side, just say you have him on that side, he's then gonna, you know, you have the option to run out of here. So if you run out of here, this is what you want to do. Take your second option, which you could have took before, instead of going in here. So like I said, remember back when we were on this corridor, when I said, you know, you have two options here. You can bring them into there, or you can take them into here. So if you bring them into there, again, it's probably ideal that you do. But if that pallet's not in there, then obviously you can't use this room. So it's always handy to have a second option. So again, let's say, oh, that pallet's not there. Just have a quick glance in the room. Don't see a pallet. Right, I'm gonna run into here, and this right here is usually a god pallet. If it's not, then it's going to be over here. So that is like the most efficient way to kind of run the killer on the bottom floor of this side. And again, you know, if it's not here, that's kind of unlucky, because this is probably the more common spawn. If it's not here, then I'd suggest at least just running straight this direction, because it's probably spawned here. If it's not in either of those locations, and if you have time, it'll spawn here, and you can drop it here. But like my advice, like I said, is if you're coming from that room, running through this bathroom here, then, you know, oh, don't see the pallet, I'm gonna immediately run this way, and I'm gonna throw it down like that, and then again, gonna get my distance, and then I'm gonna run up here after doing all that, because I have balanced landing. But if you don't have balanced landing, again, you can have the option after you've dropped that god pallet to then run back into this room here. You know, you can go for that vault if you want. You know, let's just say that pallet has been used already, and then you're back at this vault again. And then we're back in that room. So, you know, there's a lot of ways you can run the bottom floor on this side of the map. Okay, so let me show you the method if you did run upstairs from dropping that god pallet. So if you run upstairs, alright, let's see, the killer's just followed you upstairs. So where do you go from here? Well, again, you have two options. You can either go this way, or you can go this way. Well, if Ash points the right way. I suggest running this way for now, because you're more than likely going to have a good pallet to run the killer on. So here, you have the pallet. You can run the killer around quite a lot on this pallet. You know, it's not the greatest pallet, but it's one way you kind of want to just play on the pallet side as best you can to counteract the type of killer it is. You know, if the killer is just going to keep following you around in a circle, then that's good for you, because again, you're going to just be able to waste a lot of time with this loop. And just say you drop that pallet, where do you go from here? Okay, so if I bring Demogorgon in here real quick. Alright, okay, so Demogorgon's pushed me on this side. I've dropped down the pallet. Okay, now I can run back out here. And then again, you have the option. Do you want to go that way, or do you want to go that way? And if you go that way, then you'll drop down, and you'll have, yet again, run back into the east office. What happens if he drops the pallet on this side, and you know the killer's behind it? Well, this way is really scuffed in trying to know what to do, because you've only got this weak pallet here, which, you know, it's very easily 50-50'd by the killer, and it's not ideal really. So you tend to want to just ignore running that way. So yeah, you just want to ignore going that way. So my suggestion is run this way, because what that'll do, it'll bring you out to the rooftop and another pallet. This again is a really good loop against a lot of killers, because some people, they'll try and force you to drop this pallet really early, and that's not what you want to do, because you really want to make killers, you know, try and do this around it a lot, because You know, the longer you're spending wasting the killer's time running around this this loop, it's going to be quite difficult for them to actually, you know, just get a hit on you. So most killers will try and force you to drop this pallet early. And what I say is use the pallet to your advantage. So if a killer's going backwards and forwards like this, then, you know, you can basically just stand there. But, you know, if a killer does tend to commit themselves that way, then, you know, you just obviously keep counteracting that as much as you can. What you want to do is hopefully drop the pallet on this side. If you can drop the pallet on this side, that's great. Even if the killer's still, you know, dancing around like that, and you're getting kind of fed up of being in this chase on this loop, you know, just say the killer's like lunging at you like that, and you know, you've got to drop the pallet. Just go for the vault straight away. Some killers will probably try and just walk around the pallet with their bloodlust. They won't even break it. And that's still going to give you enough time to get down here. It'll give you enough time to get down here and run into here. And like I said, if the god pallet's still up, that's great, because now you still have the option to do that. And you know, the scenario works as well. Like, say, you know, the gen's up here, because the gen spawns here sometimes. So just say you're repairing a gen right here. I didn't get that spawn right now, but you know, you're at the start of the game, you've just repaired a gen, or you're repairing a gen. The killer's more than likely gonna come out of this doorway here. It would be very rare that you see the killer actually coming up from down there. So, you know, if the killer is coming out of this door here, again, like I said, you kind of want to play them on this loop a little bit. But yeah, the main thing is making this vault and, you know, running to this god pallet over here, and then dropping the god pallet. Even if you go down after dropping the god pallet, it's still gonna waste a lot of the killer's time that they've spent chasing you around that air conditioning unit or whatever it is upstairs, you know, breaking that pallet, and then you know, they've got to run in here. They've got to run in here, and then they've got to deal with this god pallet right here, you know. And again, it's just all about wasting the killer's time, because, you know, you don't need successful chases to win this game. You just need chases that wears down the killer. You know, you can go down after dropping all these god pallets and stuff, but in reality, you know, if your teammates are like efficient on the gens, then most of these loops will win you the game. And yeah, so like I said, hopefully some of these loops were easy to follow. And if you have any questions about the loops, then feel free to leave me a comment down below. Alright guys, that is going to conclude my tips for playing an RPD. I hope you found this helpful. I hope it was really easy to follow as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment down below and let me know what you guys think. If you have any tips yourself that you can use, that'd be great to add to playing on this map, because I want to see this map used more on the survivor side, at least, because I never see it. Sadly, like, I'm always trying to grind for RPD badges on my Ash, and I can just never get the offering, which is why I did the video like this, because I just did a custom match, obviously, to play on the map. Like, I wanted to do a video of running an actual killer around this map, but one, I can't get the RPD offering. Two, I'm not guaranteed to get chased by the killer if I do get the offering, or put it on, you know, if I do get the map. So I thought this method might be a bit easier to show everyone how powerful RPD can actually be against the killer. And people really need to start enjoying this map. And, you know, it's a gorgeous map. It's really well done. And, yeah, I think it's very underrated. People need to realize its potential on wasting killers' time. Not only winning chases, but also, just like I said, it's just got so many things in it just to waste killers' time, you know? Like, that one side has 4 god pallets, and if you run it right, you can hit the killer with all 4 god pallets, you know, if they're that dedicated chasing you. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video entertaining and hopefully helpful, and if you want to see more like this, hit the thumbs up button. I will do more maps like Springwood, Midwich and stuff like that, because, you know, I'm fairly good at looping. I know a lot of paths to take, what's like probably the most efficient method of running some loops. And so yeah, Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been Pixels. You've been my awesome viewers, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.